What if a beloved Christmas food could tell the history of an entire island? Wrapped in a simple banana leaf, this dessert might look humble at first glance, but hidden inside is a history that stretches back centuries, long before Christmas arrived in the Caribbean. We'll uncover the remarkable journey of this sweet cornmeal delicacy, tracing its roots through Indigenous food traditions, the cultural transformations of colonial Caribbean, and the generations of families who made it a treasured part of the Christmas season. So join me as we unwrap the history, culture, and Christmas traditions behind one of Trinidad's most enduring seasonal dishes, Paime. I'm your host, Glenn Warren, and welcome to another serving of Seasons Eatings, the podcast which explores the history and origins of your favorite Christmas foods. Seasons Eatings can be found wherever you download your favorite podcasts. If you haven't already, I would ask you to subscribe. That way you won't miss an episode when it's released. And all future episodes will be available without you having to search for them. If you can please take a minute and leave me a 5-star review, I would greatly appreciate it. And if you let me know you've left a review, I'll send you a Seasons Eating sticker as a personal thank you. And if you can't leave a review, then all I ask is to share this podcast with anyone you think would love to learn more about our favorite Christmas foods. Seasons Eatings can also be found on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky. All the links can be found in the show notes, which can be found at seasonseatingspodcast.com. And while you're there, you can buy me an eggnog. Just click on the little cup in the top of the page and leave a donation for as little as $3. Each donation is used for the running of the podcast and its general upkeep, so any help would be wonderful. Finally, you can let me know how I'm doing, leave a suggestion for a future episode, or just say hello at seasonseatingspodcast@gmail.com. All links for the podcast can be found in the show notes. There are certain foods that tell you exactly what time of year it is. You smell cinnamon and suddenly it's December. You hear the crackle of wrapping paper and think of gingerbread. You bite into a fruit cake and remember grandparents, crowded kitchens, and traditions stretching back generations. And in Trinidad and Tobago, there is one humble little parcel that quietly arrives each Christmas season, wrapped in a banana leaf and carrying centuries of history with it. It's called Paime. And while it may not have the global recognition of black cake or the festive fame of pasteles, it has earned the cherished place on many Christmas tables. When people think of a Trinidadian Christmas, certain images immediately come to mind. Parang music drifting through the neighborhoods, the rich aroma of black cake soaking in rum, sorrel simmering on the stove, pasteles being assembled by entire families gathered around kitchen tables. And somewhere among all of this activity, banana leaves are being softened over an open flame, ready to cradle another Christmas favorite, Paime. What's interesting is that Paime isn't an everyday food. Yes, you can find it at other times of the year, but traditionally it belongs to the Christmas season. It's part of that collection of dishes that signal celebration. Food anthropologists often describe holiday foods as markers of sacred time. In other words, they're foods which deliberately reserve for special occasions. The ingredients themselves may not be rare, the techniques may not be complicated, but the meaning attached to them transforms them into something extraordinary. Paime falls squarely into this category. For many Trinidadians, especially older generations, Paime evokes memories of family kitchens bustling with activity. There might be someone grating coconut, someone else is washing banana leaves, children are hovering nearby hoping for a taste of the sweet mixture before it gets wrapped and steamed. Because Paime isn't just food. It's participation. It's cooperation. It's tradition passed from one pair of hands to another. And that's something Christmas celebrations around the world have in common. Whether it's tamales in Mexico, stollen in Germany, panettone in Italy, or mince pies in Britain, holiday foods become vessels for memory. Paime is Trinidad's contribution to that beautiful global tradition. One of the fascinating things about Caribbean cuisine is that every dish tells multiple stories at once. To understand Paime, we need to travel back long before Christmas celebrations as we know them existed in Trinidad. Long before colonial powers arrived. Long before the nation itself took shape. We begin with the indigenous people of the Caribbean. Before European contact, indigenous communities throughout the region relied heavily on locally available ingredients: cassava, maize or corn, pumpkin, peppers, and tropical fruits. Corn in particular held immense importance throughout the Americas. It wasn't merely just sustenance, it was civilization. Many indigenous cooking traditions involved grinding corn and combining it with other ingredients before steaming or boiling the mixture inside leaves. This method was practical and portable. Banana leaves themselves were introduced later through transatlantic exchanges, but wrapping foods in plant material was already well established throughout the Americas. Many researchers believe that Paime likely has indigenous roots, particularly because of its reliance on corn and its method of preparation. Some Trinidadian food historians point toward connections with traditions of the island's first peoples. Long before European ships crossed the Atlantic, Trinidad was inhabited by indigenous peoples whose ancestors had migrated through South America and into the Caribbean. Among these communities were groups often identified today as the ancestors of the island Caribs and the Arawakan-speaking peoples. Their lives revolved around a sophisticated understanding of the local environment. The great societies of Mesoamerica built entire cosmologies around corn. Indigenous communities throughout South America and the Caribbean incorporated it into both daily meals and ceremonial foods. Corn could be dried, ground, boiled, steamed, and transformed into countless preparations. Importantly, many indigenous cooking traditions involved enclosing food in leaves before cooking. This technique served practical purposes. It protected food from the direct heat and retained the moisture and allowed meals to be transported easily. When we look at Paime today, a corn-based mixture wrapped in leaves and steamed, we can see echoes of this ancient culinary practice. Food historians are often cautious about drawing direct lines between modern dishes and pre-Columbian foods, but the similarities are difficult to ignore. The very foundation of Paime rests upon techniques and ingredients that indigenous peoples have been using for centuries before the Europeans arrived. Everything changed, though, after 1498, when Christopher Columbus reached Trinidad during his third voyage. The centuries that followed transformed the island politically, economically, and culturally. Spanish rule was eventually supplemented and then replaced by British control. Plantation agriculture expanded dramatically. The transatlantic slave trade brought thousands of Africans to the island under conditions of unimaginable brutality. From a human perspective, this period is marked by displacement, exploitation, and profound suffering. Yet, from a culinary perspective, it also created one of the most culturally diverse food landscapes in the world. The Caribbean became a crossroads. European ingredients and techniques arrived alongside African agricultural knowledge and indigenous traditions. Foods from Asia entered through global trade networks. New ingredients met old cooking methods, and old recipes adapted to new realities. The result was not a simple blending of cultures, but an ongoing process of innovation and survival. Many of the dishes we now think as quintessentially Caribbean emerge from this environment. Paime appears to be one such creation. Its indigenous foundation remained intact through its use of corn and leaf wrapping, but additional ingredients reflected the changing realities of colonial society. Sugar became increasingly available through plantation production. Spices such as cinnamon and nutmeg circulated through imperial trade routes. Dried fruits entered Caribbean kitchens through commercial networks connecting Europe, Africa, Asia, and the Americas. The dish evolved into something distinctly Caribbean, not indigenous, not African, not European, but a product of all three. No discussion of Caribbean food history would be complete without recognizing the enormous contribution of Africans and their descendants. Although much attention is often given to ingredients, culinary knowledge itself also traveled across the Atlantic. Enslaved Africans brought agricultural expertise, cooking techniques, and food traditions that profoundly shaped Caribbean cuisine. Food historian Sidney Mintz famously argued that Caribbean food cultures emerged through processes of adaptation and creativity among populations forced into extraordinary circumstances. People from different regions of Africa, often speaking different languages and possessing different traditions, were brought together on plantations. In these settings, new culinary identities emerged. Meals had to be created from limited resources. Techniques had to be adapted. Knowledge had to be shared. Over generations, distinct Caribbean cuisines developed. While Paime cannot be identified as exclusively African in origin, it belongs to this broader tradition of culinary adaptation. It reflects the ingenuity that characterized Caribbean cooking throughout the colonial period. We'll discuss how Paime is made after the break.
Don't you wish the holidays would last the entire year? Well, now it can. Head on over to mymerrychristmas.com where you can enjoy the holidays all year long. You can chat with other Christmas enthusiasts on any topic you can think of. Movies, books, cooking, decorating, anything. If it's about Christmas, it's here. Joining My Merry Christmas is completely free. But if you become a Premier member, you can enjoy extra bonuses such as a yearly Christmas card exchange and Kringle Radio, Santa's exclusive Christmas radio station. For only $19.95, you can become a Premier member of mymerrychristmas.com for a full year. So head on over to mymerrychristmas.com and start enjoying Christmas all year long.
When the burn months set in and the nights start to get crisp, do you feel what I feel? Hi, I'm Ashley, and I'm the voice behind the Magic of the Season podcast, where we talk nostalgia, holiday history, movies, music, and of course, the big man himself. If you want to turn on something that brings you warmth, comfort, and cheer, then you're in the right place. I'm available on all podcast platforms such as Apple, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and many more. Follow me for some festive fun on my Instagram at the Magic of the Season podcast. Now grab your hot cocoa, get cozy, because it's story time.
As we realize that Paime is a blend of culinary traditions, another question comes to mind. Why did it become associated with Christmas? The answer lies partly in the nature of festive foods themselves. Across cultures, holiday meals often feature dishes that require more labor than everyday cooking. Anthropologists have noted that special occasions frequently involve foods that are time-intensive, ingredient-rich, or otherwise impractical for ordinary days. Christmas in Trinidad follows this pattern. Historically, Christmas represented one of the few times each year when families might devote substantial resources to labor and preparing elaborate meals. Communities gathered, relatives traveled, food became central to celebration. Dishes that required collective effort naturally found a place within these festivities. Consider the similarities between paime and pasteles. Neither is particularly difficult to make. All they require really is time. Leaves must be prepared, ingredients assembled, parcels folded, cooking carefully monitored. These activities ideally suited for family gatherings. The work becomes part of the celebration. In this sense, paime belongs to a category of foods that anthropologists sometimes describe as ritual foods. Their significance extends beyond nutrition. They help mark the passage of time. They reinforce family bonds. They connect generations to those who came before. Every Christmas, paime carries historical memory that extends far beyond the recipe itself. So if you've ever seen a paime, you might notice it bears a striking resemblance to another Trinidadian Christmas staple, the pastele. And that's no coincidence. Pasteles are savory parcels of seasoned meat, wrapped in cornmeal dough and then steamed in banana leaves. And they're deeply associated with Christmas in Trinidad. Some historians trace their development to Spanish colonial influence, linking them to dishes such as Venezuelan hallacas. Paime, meanwhile, is often described as the sweet cousin to the pasteles. Instead of enclosing a filling, the sweetness is incorporated directly into the mixture itself. You have pumpkin, coconut, raisins, brown sugar, warm spices. The ingredients are blended together, wrapped and steamed until fragrant and tender. It's a remarkable example of how a culinary tradition evolves. You take an existing method, adjust the flavor profile, adapt it to available ingredients, and eventually a new tradition emerges. Interestingly, versions of paime exist beyond Trinidad. In Barbados, a similar dish called conquis appear around independence celebrations. Other Caribbean islands have related preparations with their own regional twists. The names change, the proportions shift, but the underlying idea remains familiar. Corn, sweetness, leaves, steam, community. Food historians often ask an important question. Why do some dishes endure while others disappear? And the answer usually has very little to do with flavor. After all, delicious foods vanish from culinary memory all the time. What preserves recipes is meaning. Paime requires effort. It's not particularly difficult, but it does ask for time. The coconut must be grated, leaves prepared, parcels assembled, water must be brought to a steady simmer. And because of that investment, Paime becomes something you make intentionally. Holiday foods often survive precisely because they demand participation. They create rituals. You remember who taught you. You remember whose version you prepared. You remember the year someone accidentally used too much cinnamon. The food becomes biography. And perhaps that's especially important during Christmas. The season encourages us to look backward as much as forward, to remember and to connect, to recreate moments we fear might otherwise be lost. Making Paime becomes an act of cultural preservation, a declaration that these stories still matter, that the people who taught us still matter, and that tradition deserves their place at the table. And like many traditional dishes, every family insists their version is the correct one. And perhaps they're right. Because recipes evolve. They adapt to taste, availability, and personal preference. But most Paime recipes share a common foundation. You typically need cornmeal, grated coconut, grated pumpkin, brown sugar, raisins, butter, vanilla, cinnamon, pinch of salt, a little bit of water or coconut milk, and banana leaves. Some cooks add a little nutmeg. Some include sweet potato. Few insist on specific ratios handed down over generations, but that's the part of traditional cooking. There's room for interpretation. The cornmeal forms the backbone of the dish. It goes with the grated pumpkin, which contributes moisture and color, then the coconut and the raisins, and the sugar and butter and vanilla. Everything is stirred together until it reaches a thick consistency, not too dry, not too wet. Experienced cooks often judge entirely by feel. No measuring cups required, just instinct, developed over decades. A spoonful of the mixture is then placed in a prepared leaf. The leaf is folded carefully into a parcel, and some people tie them with a bit of kitchen string, others just fold them tightly enough so additional securing isn't necessary. The goal is fairly simple. You keep the contents enclosed while they steam. The parcels are then placed in boiling water or arranged over steam. Then comes the waiting. 30 to 35 minutes or 30 to 45 minutes later, depending on the size, the paime is ready. The leaves are opened and a cloud of fragrant steam escapes. Inside lies something that's difficult to categorize. It's not quite pudding, it's not quite cake, it's not quite tamale. Paime is uniquely itself. And one of the most overlooked aspects of paime is the banana leaf. To modern eyes, the leaf might appear to be little more than a biodegradable wrapping. Historically, however, cooking in leaves represents one of humanity's oldest culinary technologies. Throughout the tropical regions of the world, leaves have served as cooking vessels for thousands of years. In Trinidad, banana leaves became deeply integrated into food preparation because they were abundant, practical, and effective. Their use connects Paime to a much larger global tradition. From tamales in Mexico to halacas in Venezuela to zongzi in China, societies around the world discovered that wrapping food before cooking produced unique textures and flavors. Paime belongs to this remarkable international family of leaf-wrapped foods. Yet in particular combination of ingredients makes it unmistakably Trinidadian. And perhaps the most fascinating thing about Paime is that it continues to evolve. Food historians increasingly emphasize that traditional foods are not museum artifacts, they are living practices. Recipes change, ingredients become available or disappear. Families develop preferences. The amount of sugar might have changed, the spices may have shifted. The cooking methods may have adapted to modern kitchens, yet the essential idea remains remarkably consistent. A sweet, corn-based mixture wrapped carefully in leaves, prepared for celebration, shared among family and friends. And in that sense, Paime functions almost like an edible historical document. Each parcel contains traces of indigenous agriculture, colonial trade, African resilience, Caribbean creativity, and Christmas tradition. Few foods tell such a complex story in such a humble form. And perhaps that's precisely why Paime deserves a place in the broader history of Christmas foods. Because hidden inside these simple banana leaves is nothing less than the story of Trinidad itself.
Thank you for listening to this serving of Seasons Eatings. I'm your host, Glenn Warren, and Seasons Eatings is available wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Please, if you can leave a review about the show, we can spread the Christmas cheer. Also, I would love to hear from you. Send me an email at seasonseatingspodcast@gmail.com and let me know how you like the show, suggestions for a future episode, or just say hello. And if you let me know you've left a review, I'll send you a Seasons Eating sticker as a personal thank you. And if you're feeling extra generous this season, you can buy me an eggnog. Head on over to seasonseatingspodcast.com and click on the little cup in the corner. We also have some great merchandise. TVs. I wish we had TVs. T-shirts, mugs, aprons, stickers. Go to seasonseatingspodcast.com, click on the merchandise tab to find your next great gift. All music for Seasons Eatings is used under the Creative Commons license.